Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Welcome to our series on Arabic Made Simple, which is a product of Quran University associated with Quran Learning Management System. Level 1 of this series is on learning Arabic letters, and our third chapter of this level is on writing Arabic letters within words. In this chapter, we'll revise what we have learned in the previous chapter about Arabic letters writing in isolated format. Then we will learn that the shape of the written Arabic letters would differ according to the letter location within the word. Then we're going to learn how to write each letter at the start, the middle, and the end of the words. In the previous chapter, we have learned how to write all the Arabic letters in its isolated format. And we're going to quickly revise what we have learned in the previous chapter. We'll start with the alif, hamza, and then a stick. The ba, a bed with a dot below. The ta, a bed with 2 dots above. The tha, a bed with 3 dots above. The jim, line with a semicircle with a dot. Similarly, the ha is like the jim without a dot, and the kha is like the ha with a dot on the top. The dal, a corner letter. The dal is like a dal with a dot on top. The ra is an arc. The zain is an arc with a dot like the ra but with a dot above it. And the sin, teeth, and a semicircle. The sheen, like the sin, teeth with semicircle with 3 dots. Then the sad, the dome, and a semicircle. The dad is like the sad, but with a dot on top of it. The ta, a dome and a minaret. A dome and a minaret with a dot is a dha, so dha is like ta, but with a dot. And then ayn, 2 semicircles, one small, followed by a bigger one, and the ghayn is like the ayn, but with a dot on top. The fa is like the bed letters, but with a circle and a dot. The qaf is like the fa, but with a semicircular bed instead of the flat one, and with 2 dots instead of 1. The kaf is like a stick followed by a flat bed with small curvy shape just above it. The lam is a stick with a semicircle below. The mim is a tent or a circle with this shape. And then the noon, semicircle with a dot on top. So the noon is like the flatbed letters, but instead of having a flat bed, it has a curvy bed, and the dot is above the noon instead of the ba, which has it below. Ha is a combination of a dal and a waw, and the waw is a circle with an arc similar to the ra, and the ya is 2 semicircles with 2 dots below it. So what we have learned is basically the way to write the Arabic letters in its isolated form. Now, in this chapter, we're going to learn how to write it in contextual forms, how the shape would differ if it is at the beginning of the word, or the middle of the word, or the end of the word. So we have 3 contextual forms for the same letter. The first one is the initial, then the medial, which is in the middle of the word, and the final, which is the end of the word. Let's start with the initial forms. For the alif, it will be the same. Now, the dal and the, it is the same for the ra and zain. But the ba and the ta and the tha, they look a bit different. Similarly, the sin and shin and sad. That semicircle which was there at the bottom, at the end of the sin and shin and sad, is not there. So basically, there is a minor change between the isolated form and the initial, and similarly, the writing and the look would be a bit more different in the medial, in the middle of the word. Like the ha, for example, in which that initial part of the ha is there, and then before it and after it, there is a straight line, but the lower curved semicircular part of the ha is actually removed in the middle of the word, and so on. For the final, again, there is a different shape. So there is actually a shape for the letter in the initial, different from the medial, different from the final. Actually, it's not significantly different. It's a minor difference. And we will, through this chapter, go through each letter and realize and understand how to write it in all three contextual forms. How to write it at the beginning and at the middle and at the end of the word. Let's start with the alif. As we have learned in the previous chapter, alif is a simple stick in its isolated format. Now we take the three forms, the beginning, the middle, and the end, and at the beginning it looks exactly like its shape in the isolated format, a simple stick. But at the end, it is preceded by a dash, and then the stick is written. So in here, at the beginning, we write it from the top down. At the end, after the dash, we write it from the bottom up. That's the major difference. The look is the same, and the difference is the part before it, which connected to the previous letters of the word. Now, in the middle, the alif, looks like the end, but if we extend it with another dash after it, it becomes very similar to the lam. So this is wrong. That's why we don't write anything after the alif. Even if it is at the middle of the word, we remove this part. And so the alif at the middle of the word looks exactly like how it looks at the end of the word. Now, the ba is written like a bed with a dot below it, as we have learned in its isolated format. And if we want to write it at the beginning, we take the first part of the ba, the first half of the ba, down and then to the left with a dot, down, then to the left with a dot below it, and that states the way we write the ba at the beginning. Then in the middle, it is exactly this, preceded by a dash and followed by a dash. So a dash first, then the first half of the bed of the ba, and then a dot below, and then it will be followed by whatever letter that is going to follow it in the word. Now at the end, we take the dash, then we follow it with the whole ba, complete ba with a dot below. Next letter is the ta, which is exactly like the ba, but with two dots above, as we have learned in its isolated format. And similarly, it follows the same rules like the ba at the beginning. We take the first half of the ta, and that constitutes how it looks in the beginning of the word. In the middle of the word, it's preceded by a dash, then following the first part of the ta, and with two dots on top. And at the end, the dash is followed by the complete ta. The complete ta follows, and that's how the ta looks like at the end of the word. Beginning, middle, similar, and complete like the isolated at the end. The tha is written exactly the same way as we write the ba and ta, a bed letter, but with three dots on top of it in its isolated format. And at the beginning, we take the first half of the tha here, and that's how we start with three dots on top. And then in the middle, it will be following a dash. So the dash, then it's followed with exactly how it looks at the beginning, the first half of the tha, and three dots on top. Now, so the beginning and the middle are similar, but the end, where we take the whole tha following the dash. So the whole tha will follow the dash, and it will look like this, a complete tha with three dots on top of it. So the beginning and middle are the same, similar. The end is similar to the isolated.